guys! Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. Make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get right into today's video. First things first, I need to remove my old nail set with the 1 kill remover. I'm really surprised that this Gel X set lasted me almost 3 weeks with no lifting. I clearly did something right. This is the inspo for today. I found this gorgeous nail design on Instagram, and I'll have the original creator's details listed down below so you guys can check them out as well. As soon as I saw these nails, I immediately thought of the movie Wicked. Like, to me, the green and pink are just giving Elphaba and Glinda vibes. And I need to be Wicked ready because I'm going to go see it in theater soon. So I'm going to try to do this as a copy paste as well as I can. So let's just get started with the nail prep. I'm using the Sally Hansen Instant Cuticle Remover and applying just a small amount onto the cuticle area. You're going to want to let that sit for about 15 seconds and let the cuticle soften. Then use a cuticle pusher to push them back gently. Scrape off some of the excess cuticle with the edge of your cuticle pusher and then wash your hands with warm soapy water. And try to do this all within 30 to 40 seconds because you don't want the softener to sit too long on your skin. I like to nip off any excess skin, but this is completely optional and not necessary. Then I decided to trim my nails a little shorter with a pair of clippers. With a fine grit buffing block, I'm going to etch the entire surface of my nail beds to remove any oils or shine. I'm going to be trying out this nail dehydrator and primer duo with my Jello. I don't think Jello necessarily needs a dehydrator and primer, but I'm very curious to see whether or not it will help with the retention. So first I'm applying the dehydrator to completely remove anything from the nail surface, and then follow up with a thin coat of primer and coat the entire nail bed. Make sure to avoid the surrounding skin. If you're not planning to use a peel-off base coat, you may want to apply these two after you glue the nail tips to your natural nails. I like to let the primer dry a little bit before applying a coat of the Jello peel-off base. This will allow me to be able to remove my nails easily without filing and soaking them off. These half-cover nail tips from Una Gela on Amazon have quickly become a favorite of mine. Make sure that each nail tip fits your nail from sidewall to sidewall. Since I have the Jello on, I'm going to use a regular gel base coat to adhere the tips onto my natural nails. It works a lot better than regular nail glue. I will apply a thin layer onto where the tips meet the natural nails and flash cure it under a small lamp for 15 seconds. And once I'm done gluing on each tip to my nail, I'm going to fully cure this for 60 seconds under a big lamp. After my tips have been laid, I'll clip the nails shorter to around a medium length. Then I'll shape them with a 100 and 180 grit hand file. I start by filing underneath so that my nail tips lay more flat because they tend to curve downwards. And then I'll file the ends to improve the square shape. With my nail drill at a speed of 5,000 RPM, I'll gently blend the false tips to my natural nails. This step is necessary if you want to achieve a seamless look, and it can also help make the process of applying Polygel much smoother. Continue until the tip lays flush with your natural nails and be very careful not to overfile. At the same time, I'll also etch the entire surface of the nail tip so that the Polygel has something to grip to. You definitely don't want to skip this step. Now remove the dust collected from filing with a little bit of rubbing alcohol and wipe it off with a lint-free wipe. I'm using the regular gel base coat again and applying a thin layer to the entire surface of my nails, including the false tips. After coating each nail, cure them in a big lamp for 60 to 90 seconds. I'll be using these 3 polygels today from Macart in the shades Le Coral, Eliette, and Clear, along with Macart's slip solution, but 99% isopropyl alcohol works just as well. When working with nails at this length, I prefer to use the 2-bead method rather than 1 bead because it helps form an apex more easily and ensures that each layer is cured properly. I'm applying my first bead starting at my free edge and cutting it off at the tip, and I wanted to show you guys how I use my brush. I just saturate the bristles in the solution and tap the excess on the side of my dish before also tapping the brush on my lint-free wipe for 1 second to drain any excess solution. I start by patting down the product. This will help gradually distribute it over the entire surface enough for me to push the product towards the edges. Try to keep your hand light when working with Polygel. When too much pressure is applied, the gel can very easily be caught into the bristles, so just take your time and keep patting and using very gentle swiping motions if needed. Once both sidewalls are coated, I'll then blend the polygel onto my nail bed and make it smooth before swiping any excess towards the bottom to help even it out. Make sure to check it on all angles to ensure that everything is even, and simply cut off the excess with the spatula portion of your polygel brush. Cure this bead for 90 seconds before going in with your second bead, also known as the cuticle bead. A pea-sized amount should be enough, and I'm going to do the same thing as before, patting the gel down and letting it disperse. Then angle your brush and tuck the gel in towards the cuticle and sidewalls. Remember to keep your brush moist at all times with the slip solution to avoid having any gel caught inside, and once the sidewalls and cuticle area are done, simply swipe the excess towards the ends. I like to swipe a clean brush over my cuticle to ensure that no gel is touching or overlapping onto my skin before curing the nail for another 90 seconds. I'm applying Elliot onto my pointer finger as well as my ring finger as my first bead. These nails are essentially going to be ombre nails, and it involves the same process as the regular 2-bead application. The only difference is that the first and second bead are going to be different colors. Remember to cure the bead for 90 seconds before going in with another bead. And again, don't forget to swipe the cuticle area to make sure that nothing is overlapping or touching the skin before curing. Now I'll show you guys how to do the icicle nail. I'm using rhinestone glue and a thin layer of plastic. Saran wrap is preferred. I didn't have any, so I had to cut up a sandwich ziploc, which was actually harder to use, but I made it work. And what I'm doing is I'm putting a small amount of the rhinestone glue onto the back of the tip. Then cover that area with the saran wrap or any plastic wrap that you're using and make some indents with a small cuticle pusher. Once you cure it, it's essentially going to create your icicle effect. So I added a little bit more rhinestone glue and continued doing this until I was satisfied with the design. And on top, I'm going to add some clear polygel as my first bead before going in with Le Corelle again and using that to ombre. I got a lot of questions asking if things ever get caught underneath these icicle nails, and the truth is that yes, there will be things that get caught underneath easily, like food. I've tried encapsulating it with some clear gel in the past, but in my experience, it kind of diffuses the look of the icicles, so I prefer not to do it and just leave it as is. I've heard that some people had success encapsulating it and sort of making the bottom smooth, but every time I try to do it, it kind of diffuses the look of the icicles, so I prefer to just leave it like that. This is what the base is looking like. It's super pretty on its own. We're going to go ahead and remove the sticky inhibition layer from the polygel with some acetone and a lint-free wipe. I'm taking out my dust collector now. This one was kindly gifted to me from Macart, so thank you Macart so much for this. This is their brand new Dustina dust collector and it works so good. They also gifted me their Perlerie nail drill. Both of these are super high quality and I definitely recommend them to anyone looking to elevate their equipment. Also, I'm not being paid or sponsored to say any of this. These were just solely gifts with no obligation to post. I just wanted to be transparent with what was gifted and how I'm thankful for it and giving it a good word because it honestly works really good. Right now I'm setting my drill to 14,000 RPM, but I did bump it to 17,000 RPM off camera, and I'm using an 80 grit sanding band to file down the polygel since they were a bit bulky. I'm going in back and forth motions, filing the polygel down to the thickness that I desire. I like to keep my nails pretty thin towards the tips and around the nail bed where the apex is. Especially since these nails are pretty long, they need to be kept more bulky in that area to avoid breakage. It helps to have your hand balance on something, that way your drill doesn't skip past the nail and move everywhere or all around the nail, if you guys know what I mean. Basically, you're going to want to keep filing the nail until you reach your desired thickness. It helps to check it on all edges and angles to ensure that you're not over-filing in certain areas, and I'm just going to keep doing this until I see that the entire surface has been etched with the sanding band. I'm bringing my speed down to 6,000 RPM. I prefer not to go any higher than 6 or 7,000 RPM while I'm working around the cuticle area. In my experience, this is like the perfect speed for me, and I'm going around the cuticle with my drill until I see that the polygel is laying flush with the nail. Keep your drill parallel to your natural nails as much as possible to avoid rings of fire and indents. I'm only taking off as much product as I need to and frequently checking the cuticle area to see if I filed off enough product. This is what my nails are looking like after filing with the nail drill. As you can see, I have a visible apex. It's not too bulky, which I like, and I'm going to continue filing each nail this way and repeating the same steps. I also filed a little bit underneath the icicle nail to remove some of that bulk that was sticking out. Don't file all the way down to the tip, otherwise you can risk ruining the design, but just a little tapping motions can go a long way. Next, I'm using a 180 grit hand file to shape my nails to perfection. I like to shape with handheld files rather than electric files because I feel like I have more control. And with an e-file, it's very easy to overfile. With my hand file, I'm holding it steady and focusing on shaping the sidewalls and the tip and repeating this on each nail. You can also shape your polygel nails with a hand file alone. You don't need an e-file to get started on polygel, and e-files only make the process faster, but it's not necessary. They will take a little bit more time to do because they're not as fast, but they are very reliable. Next, I'm going to buff my nails with a 240 grit buffing block. The higher the number is, the more smooth it is and less coarse. I'm using it by going from side to side, applying pressure, and buffing as much of the surface as I can. This step will remove all the scratches and dents that were left from filing with the coarse sanding band and make your nails so much more smoother. I tend to buff each nail for about a minute or less until I see that the scratches are disappearing. Right after I file, I'll thoroughly wash my hands with warm soapy water to remove all the dust and debris. Then I'll use 70% isopropyl alcohol to spray it on my nails and wipe them off with a lint-free wipe. With a matte top coat, I'm painting a thin layer on all the nails and I'm going to fully cure this for 60 seconds. The matte top coat will give us a smooth layer to paint on when it comes to designs. And I'm going in with the perfect white gel polish from Madame Glam, and I'm using a 20mm liner brush from Melody Susie. Everything I use in this video, including all of the brushes and gels, will be linked down below for easy accessibility, so make sure that you guys go check that out. I'm painting a simple rounded French, starting with the smile line. I was so proud when I got this on the first try. I then filled in my French with some white gel polish directly from the bottle, and to be more detailed, I used my liner brush again to cover the sidewalls. I much prefer to use my liner brush than my gel polish brush to cover any sidewall area because it's much more narrow and easier to work with. It does take a little bit more time, but we don't want to get any gel polish on our skin. I did a more modern rounded French. I think it works best with this design since this will also be going on the pinky nail as well, and we'll need some room for a design later. I also applied 2 coats of the white gel polish to make the French as opaque and as bright as possible. While I have the white gel on hand, I'm going to use the same liner brush to paint sort of a large cross shape on my ring finger to mimic a ribbon, and I also applied 1 coat, but you can apply a second one if you'd like it to be more bright. If you get any gel polish on your skin, make sure that you wipe it off with some acetone before you give your nails a full cure. With a large dotting tool, I'm going to dot and trace out a snowflake, starting by placing a dot where you want the center of the snowflake to be, then place 2 dots horizontally above and below the middle dot, then place another 2 dots vertically to the middle on either side. Swipe your liner brush from the middle outwards, using the gel polish from the middle dot to create the lines. Then wipe the gel polish off of your liner brush and create some parallel lines stemming from the center dot in either section of the snowflake. I also like to go back in with my dotting tool and replace the dots again just to emphasize those circles. I created another large snowflake at the bottom, and I'm placing my middle dot and repeating the same pattern as before, but I'm making it a little bit wider and adding an extra 4 dots closer to the middle dot when I trace my parallel lines. I hope that makes sense, but if not, there's a visual on the screen, of course, so you guys can just look at it and there's no cutouts. And again, I'm just reapplying some of the white dots. I have these emerald green and classic silver assorted crystals. I'm super excited because I never had a chance to use these green crystals for so long. I've had them and I've just never used them until now. I used a ton of these medium-sized crystals for this set. and that's exactly what I'm starting off with. I'm grabbing 2 medium-sized silver crystals and a slightly larger green crystal. I placed some rhinestone glue directly where I want my crystals to go, which was in the middle of the smile line. Right in the center, I placed the large emerald green crystal, and right next to it, I placed 2 smaller silver crystals. Flash cure that in place for 15 seconds to ensure that they don't move around. For my pointer finger, I grabbed 1 medium crystal along with 1 large emerald crystal, placed the rhinestone glue on the center points of the snowflakes, and placed the medium silver crystal on the smaller snowflake and the large emerald crystal on the larger snowflake. For the middle nail, I grabbed 1 of the large emerald crystals as well as 2 slightly smaller emerald crystals. I also grabbed 6 medium-sized crystals and 2 medium-sized light pink crystals. I placed my rhinestone glue all around the cuticle area and began with the largest emerald crystal in the middle, and I completely surrounded the crystal with 5 silver ones. After surrounding the emerald crystal with the 5 silver ones, you're going to want to place that last silver crystal underneath the middle. Then go ahead and place the last 2 emerald crystals right next to those. I flash cured them in place because it was actually moving a lot, so I wanted it to be steady before I placed the last 2. So I then added some more rhinestone glue, and right next to the emerald crystals near the cuticle, I added the last 2 pink crystals. I had to get a white bow charm for this nail set, along with 2 medium-sized silver crystals, and I placed the rhinestone glue directly in the middle of the cross ribbon design and laid my bow charm right in the middle and sort of slanted it a little bit before placing the last 2 silver crystals directly on top and on the bottom of the ribbon. Quickly cure them in place before they start to shift around, and then give your nails a full cure at this point for 60 seconds just to make sure all the crystals are properly on. After I fully cured the charms in place, I applied my favorite top coat from Koopa. This is their shiny and glossy top coat, and it really brings this set to life. I like to top coat the rhinestones as well as the rest of the nails to help them last a little bit longer. I then went ahead and did my other hand off camera. This is the next day, and as you can see, it's looking so cute. And I'm going to mix some top coat and rhinestone glue in equal parts with my liner brush. These are the glitters I'll be using. I've got this green one, similar to the color of the crystals, and a light pink glitter as well. Using my mixture, I'll paint 4 thin stripes across my French. I am sort of curving them a little bit. I'm not making them exactly straight. I'm doing sort of like a peppermint swirly pattern. And then after I trace them all on, I'll lightly sprinkle the green glitter over top of them. And once you sprinkle on all the glitter and coat all the lines, make sure that you flash cure it quickly for 15 seconds before dusting off the excess with a small brush. Then I went in with more of the gel mixture and created more stripes in between the green lines. And I tried to make these a little bit thinner, and then I dusted on the pink glitter. Sadly, it came out a little bit transparent, but if I could do this again, I would get a darker pink glitter, or I would paint light pink strokes underneath where I wanted that gel to be with some gel polish before doing this step. Lastly, for the sweater nail, I'm mixing my white gel polish with a little bit of clear acrylic powder. You don't need a lot. The ratio is honestly like 1 to 10, 1 being the acrylic powder and 10 being the gel polish. Doing this will essentially thicken your gel polish and make it more of a textured gel. You can do any sort of strokes that you want. I went with these sort of zigzag patterns like the ones in the original photo, and on the horizontal line, I did angled stripes. Once you got all the design on, you want to top it off with some extra clear acrylic while it's still wet, and this will just make it even more thick. Then fully cure your nail for 60 seconds. I finished with my favorite cuticle oil, and this is what the design looks like. I love how cute these came out. I would definitely love to create more nail sets like this in the future with this kind of color scheme. I think it works super well, and I just love the design overall. Let me know what you guys think of this nail set and if it reminds you of Wicked as well. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I hope you guys found it helpful, and let me know if you're going to try it out. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next one.